And by mentors, there should be people in our lives. It doesn't have to be one person. One person does this well, and one person does that well. But to be healthy, it has to be different perspectives and different ideas. You need to talk to people younger than you. You need to talk to people in your demographic. You need to talk to people older. And there's a great saying. It says, everyone you ever meet knows something interesting that you don't know. So be hungry, right? It could be a 6-year-old kid, and he says, like, wow, I never thought of that, right? So
if you're not moving forward as a learner, you're moving backwards as a leader. I'll say that one more time. If you're not moving forward as a learner, you're moving backwards as a leader. And so through today's conversation, I want you to keep note of that. Today's guest is someone that I've personally been wanting to sit down with for over a year. I met this gentleman at the Fairfield Sassoon Rotary in California.
That smile.
And so now that smile. And now he sits in the seat at L3 Media. But our guest is not only a leadership and financial coach, he's an international speaker. He's an author. And I'm looking forward to talking about a couple of things, right, when it comes to author, when it comes to leadership. And so, but today we will have some great dialogue around life, love, and leadership on the L3 perspective. I'm going to toss it over to Cam, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yes, sir. So as you guys know, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for y'all. And if you don't tell us, then we'll just keep doing whatever. And nobody really wants that.
So today's special guest in the building, Fairfield, California, is Mr. William Wesley. William, welcome to the L3 Perspective.
it is my pleasure to be with you guys. I look forward to chatting with you, as I always do, Cam and Glenn. Wonderful brothers.
But not a new visitor to the studio by any means.
No,
not at all.
Yes. I will say you have been a great supporter of us. The last couple of years of us kind of planting our feet here in Solano, or specifically Fairfield, California. And, we appreciate that, right? We appreciate the wisdom that you've shared with us. Me personally, some of the one-on-one conversations. Cam and I often talk about finding the right mentors and having those conversations. And I remember I had we had tea together. And I remember it was through those conversations, I was like, man, this is someone that I look up to.
Thank you. And I can say the same to you. I mean, we all, and by mentors, there should be people in our lives. It doesn't have to be one person. One person does this well, and one person does that well. But to be healthy, it has to be different perspectives and different ideas. You need to talk to people younger than you. You need to talk to people in your demographic. You need to talk to people older. Everyone. And there's a great saying. It says, everyone you ever meet knows something interesting that you don't know. So be hungry, right? It could be a 6-year-old kid, and he says, like, wow, I never thought of that, right? So once you do that, then you realize everybody has something. There's a guy at our local Safeway, and he hangs out in front of the store all the time, and he reads. And every time I see him, he reads. So I asked him, what are you reading? He said, I'm going to read 500 books. I'm on 280 right now. This guy's like, what books? And he's naming these books. And you never know. You might walk by that person, okay, homeless guy, I hope he's okay. But this guy reads all the time. So my thing is, what can I learn from his experience? Because he's not there begging.
Right.
He is just reading. He happens to be there, and people will drop a few bucks and stuff. But anyway. Take advantage of what's
I don't
around
even
you.
want the money. I'm actually just reading. And I finished my coffee earlier.
No, that's good. That's good. So I want to go back to 1990s, the 90s, right? Back in the era of a lot of greatness, from sneakers to clothing to life happening. Where were you at as far as in that mental space, as far as your leadership, as far as your career? Just life in general. Where were you in 1990? And then was there a shift in your life that had you begin on this trajectory of where you're at today?
Huge shift. And I'll go back a little further. I'll go back to the 80s. I got out of college and I took a job at Xerox. And back when Xerox was Xerox, right?
They were a giant.
Right. So I was a major account rep and I thought I was the stuff, right? And I was a rocket ship. It was just about me. I was having kids and having a family, but I wasn't as I see you guys with your family at that point in my life. I was like, okay, I got kids, but I got this stuff to do, right? So I was a human rights commissioner, and I was working full time, and I was developing programs, and I was doing too much. And I cruised, and I did well because I'm a type A, serious type A, so I did well at Xerox. And then but I was still burning the candle and doing too much, and I started doing things that weren't healthy for me. So here I am, I roll into the 90s, and I'm still doing things. I'm managing a consumer electronics store literally with my left hand, right? Because my skill set, I'm like, okay, I can do that and still mess around and destroy my life, right, while I'm doing it. So anyway, but long story short, I crashed and burned, and I reached this pit where, you know what, you can't do this any longer. And if you continue, it's going to have serious consequences to your life, your lifestyle, your family, and everything else. Went through a divorce, which was just what I needed. And I basically was touched. And I don't know what everyone calls anything. I just know there's something greater than self. And that something greater than self helped me realign. And once I realigned, I got on this different path. And once I got on this different path, I realized I always knew I had a skill set, but I had a cocky vision of my skill set. What I began to learn is true intelligence is realizing there is so much I don't know. That's the issue. I'm very smart, but I'm smarter now because there's so many things I don't know, and I make a point to learn this other stuff. So once I got on that road intellectually, I also got on that road physically and emotionally and professionally. I began to play tennis again. I began to do the right diet, water, rest, exercise to have the sustained energy instead of having to take a substance to keep the energy up, right? And I began to say, what's most important? And what's most important is my relationships. And I began to go after that. And because I'm a human, I've made a ton of mistakes. And what I began to do is say, okay, one, forgive myself. Two, I've got to reach out and make sure that I express contrition and I apologize for behavior. And I make a point going forward to not deliver that type of behavior. And so that all culminated in a book I called Full Life Balance. So I began to develop specific techniques in the spiritual space, physical space, the emotional space, the professional space, and the charitable space. And I began to develop habits. And one of the biggest habits was, since I'm so ego-driven and type A, was to forgive myself, but also forgive others. If you hold yourself to a certain standard, but when someone else, and you make a mistake, they're like, okay, I'm sorry I made a mistake. But then you hold someone else to a higher standard, they make a mistake, and now we want to blast them because they made the mistake. And we all are going to make these mistakes. So I had to reach the emotional key. Out of all the keys was probably the most important, because I was driven by a very, very serious twofold ego. One part of the ego said I'm a superstar. The other part of the ego said I'm not as good as I think I am. So I have to keep performing, and I have to keep doing it, and I have to keep being the best. So it's like a superior-inferior dichotomy going.
Gotcha. So that was, so we went back to the 80s, transitioned into 90s.
Came out of the 90s. So here I am in 1999 or so, and I've got my rhythm. It's been about 5 or 6 years living in this space.
Right.
I've written the essence of Full Life Balance, about 80 pages, and I decide, okay, I'm in my intellectual zone, so I take the GMAT. I go to law school. I go to business school. I get my MBA, and I'm still in test mode, and so I take the LSAT, right? And then I go to law school, and I put the book on the shelf. And now I'm working. I began to get my series licenses. So I'm working in the financial services industry. I end up managing banks for Citibank while I'm going to law school. And then the year I graduated from law school, I lost my mom. And originally I was going to be an attorney. And I graduated cum laude. I learned how to study. I was always smart, but I didn't know how to study.
Right.
So I graduated in my MBA cum laude, and then I was the keynote speaker for my law class. And I was like, okay, this guy's going to be an attorney. And the year my mom passed was January of that year. And May of that year, I'm doing the keynote, and it hit me. I have the essence of what I'm supposed to do, and it's not law. It's full life balance. I'm supposed to take that book, bring it into the world, and change the world from that perspective. And that's what caused me to take this path.
I appreciate that. So, Kim, I have a question for you. So,
I have an answer.
As you always do. So, fast forwarding, we met William at the Rotary. From William being the now and past president of Rotary, what were some of the things that stood out as far as the quality of a man or a leader or entrepreneur or an author regarding William?
The word that I would best use would be authentic. You know, and I don't say that lightly.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
I don't think you've ever heard me say that. You know, normally when you show up to somewhere, you kind of expect people to just be like do the whole salesy thing,
Right,
like, oh, hey, you're here, we got to keep them type stuff, right? And being in recruiting for over a decade, like I can tell. But when we showed up, it was someone that was like genuinely happy to like see us, and he was. There was no ask, there was no expectation other than participation, I would say,
Right.
which makes sense because that's the whole point, right? But it was just, it was never. I think William's probably the only person until recently that has always asked me at the end of a conversation, "What can I do for you?"
That's huge.
People ask it every once in a while, but I think every interaction I have with William, at the end of it, it's, "So what can I do for you?" And I like that's very rare.
Yeah.
And to know that they actually mean that.
Right.
You know, because I think people, you know, just kind of like a hi, how are you?
Right.
Yeah.
But when someone who genuinely is like, what resources do I have that could be of service? And if I don't have that resource, I probably know someone that can provide it.
So where did that come from? Like for you to be consistent with asking, not just Cam, because I've heard you ask that to others, even myself included.
Yeah. I think when I realized what I don't know, I realized, so there are people, and I just did a little quick video on this. There are people who are, I call them selfish networkers. They only network when they need something. All of a sudden, you've lost your job, and now you're pushing your resume everywhere. And I'm not blasting people. I'm just saying that's a reality. And to me, good networking is this. One, I'm going to sincerely interact with you. And if I don't remember, I'm going to put it on my phone. And once every 2 or 3 months, if I want to be in touch with you, I'm going to say, hey, what's going on with you? One. Two, I'm going to record mentally or even on a piece of paper or at least next to your name. He has a son in karate, right? Something about this person. So when we talk again, how's Bruce Lee?
Right.
Because the most important thing you can say to me is something about my kids. And that's been superseded now by my grandkids, right? So I'm important, but I'm not as important as my kids. And my kids are important, but not as important as my grandkids. So if you remember something about that and you say that to me, it's like, oh, this person's paying attention to me. So one, contact. Two, take good notes, however you take these notes when you have contact. Three, be a real friend, not a digital friend. Be a person, don't gossip. Right? Don't bring the bad news to stories. Bring the real stuff in it. Also, ask the magic question. The magic question is, what can I do to help you? Because if I have 15 people connected to me and I ask that question, because it is a magic question and it's sincere. I'm not just asking it. If Cam said, oh, William, can you come down and do this? Yeah, if I can, right? I'm ready to do it. I'm not just saying it. Right. And now whatever you need, if I can provide it or if I can make a call and get someone to do it, I'm going to do it. Because that is not just karma. The karma is when I did it, I felt good. Right. But the world will tend to bring it back to me. But that's not why I do it. Because it does feel good to do good stuff. I get paid with endorphins, right? And then the fifth thing is don't be a selfish networker. That's the person, haven't heard from it, and this is a perfect example because someone did this, right? I was talking to this guy and he's like, needs some help. And it's like, okay. And I'm sharing different things. A little bit young. It's like maybe you're maybe younger than you. And after the conversations, a couple of conversations, not really a thank you. And you don't have to say thank you, but that sort of says something.
Correct.
Right? 3 years later, July of this year, reaches out asking would I put his GoFundMe thing on my social media. And I said, no.
Interesting.
And I said, I'm going to send you a video, though, and hopefully you take it in the spirit it's sent. And it talks about those 5 things. And the last point is don't be a selfish network. I haven't heard from you in 3 years, and you're going to say, put this, right? Yeah. And we do that, right? Sometimes we get so caught up in our thing, and it's all about us. And that's why I'm trying to continue to make a point saying, what else is going on outside of me? It's not just about me. And I think when we're little, if we're lucky, we get this. Some people never get it. We have some people in some very high places who don't understand the concept called the other.
Yeah.
The other is other people have exactly the same needs, dreams, desires, weaknesses as you. You are not so exceptional. We're only exceptional in our minds. All of us. Yeah, we are unique. No one thinks exactly like him. Right? No one thinks exactly like him. Right? But for the most part, 98% of it is exactly the same.
You knew I was going to say that.
And I remember when that hit me, just to finish the point, I remember being in my mom and dad's car, and we're going across the Bay Bridge, because we're going over to Oakland for some reason. And I'm standing up in the back seat of the car. I'm being told to sit down, but I'm standing up in the back seat of the car, and I'm looking out at sailboats in the bay. That always fascinated me when I go across the bridge. Like, how can you get in a sailboat? Why does that thing happen? But anyway, I remember looking over, and there's another car with some kids in it, and mom and dad, and they happen to be Asian. And at that point, for some reason, I realized that's a whole family of people. Like, this is a family of people, and they have their own thing, and right? And this, I'm maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I got the concept of the other. And when you see kids who get the concept of the other, you can tell. You shake a little kid's hand, and because a little kid, everything is just right in front of them, right? It's sweet, it's sour, whatever, right? It's good, it's bad, it's hot, it's cold. But when kids begin to develop the perspective, if you shake that little kid's hand and you say, how are you? When the kid gets it, he'll say, good, how are you? When a person says, how are you? That means they begin to realize there are other people outside of them that have context and value and worth. And that's a heavy concept, because if you look around this country, there are folks who still don't understand the concept of the other.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other is equal to you. You may be doing different things or whatever, but we are equal in terms of this whole physical construct we call this body.
That's interesting. You guys both bring up an interesting point. Like, currently, there's a couple leaders that I'm coaching right now, and they're doing like different evaluations and trying to finally like sit and connect with the people that they lead, right? And so I was kind of observing one in particular leader in one of the meetings they were having, and afterwards I gave them some feedback on specifically regarding the evaluation, right? But the feedback was, I asked the question. I said, "How come you don't ask them, what can you do for them?" And I think that as leaders, like, that's a very important question, right? Going to the other, right? Like, not just being so quick to just give task, but asking the question of how can I lead them? Because if I ask that to 3 or 4 people, they may all give me 3 or 4 different answers based off of their personality type, their temperaments, all of that, right? And so it's interesting when we talk about leadership, how while you may have your core principles of leadership, sometimes you have to adjust your leadership lens to that individual so you can help them get to accomplish whatever that outcome is, right? And so you guys both bring up a valid, some good points with that.
So when you talk about like relationships and obviously managing them in a balanced way where it's reciprocated, I personally am learning more about building relationships. And I say that in the context of I've always been good at building relationships. I've always been good as being a good person. But this is the first time in my life I've stayed in one place for an extended amount of time. So it was very much like I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Even like growing up, that then led into my military career, that then led into now, right? And so like Glenn and I often talk about this as I'm like forging relationships, this is the first time where I'm forging them in a sense of I'm not going anywhere. So it's like, managing that. What would you offer to people who are also trying to learn how to be better communicators and create better relationships?
Okay. There's a book called The Good Life. And I think we might have mentioned that to you before. This is the longest running study in the U.S. anyway of people in terms of how they are. It started in the 1930s, and it started in Boston. They looked at the North Boston folks who, like the Kennedys and things, who had money, and the South Boston folks who didn't. And they began to plot these folks, and they would bring them in periodically and have conversations. And when they grew up and had kids, they were having discussions with the kids. And now they're the grandparent. They have discussions with the, and over time, it's been going on for almost 100 years now. And they came up with the single most important thing for longevity and happiness, and that is relationships. That's it, right? None of this other stuff even matters simply because that's all we are. We're here. We have some memories. That's why Alzheimer's and dementia are so horrid, because you lose the fact that you have a relationship with your wife, right? So back to your point and the question, what's the biggest single factor of relationships? It's communication. If we go out on a date, you tell me all your stuff, I tell you all my stuff. We have another date, and I can't remember anything you said to me. There won't be a third date, right? Right? Because I'm the most important person in the world to me, and you're the most important person in the world to you. So what's the biggest thing we can do in terms of communication? That's listening. When I listen to you, I'm saying, Cam, you're very important. Glenn, you're very, and you are. Everything else, if I can shut down everything else and just for that moment, because this is the most important moment, because this is the only moment we actually know we have, right? Unless this is the Matrix or something. As far as I know, I'm sitting here with you. Whatever happened before happened, whatever's going to happen when I go out there is going to happen. But right now, this is the only moment I actually have. So if I can bring that all to bear and say, if this is the most important moment and Cam is speaking, can I settle down inside of myself and listen to what he's saying? Instead of saying, as soon as he's finished, I'm going to say that. And we all do that, right? So if I can develop these listening techniques saying, one, everyone you ever meet knows something interesting that you don't know. Two, you feel very good about me when I listen to you talk about you. And I feel very good about you when you listen to me talk about me. Right? If we could all just have those two principles where while you're talking, all that clutter is going to settle down and I'm going to have pinpoint accuracy. I'm going to look, I'm going to listen. I'm going to look at your body language. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to try to get exactly what was Glenn saying to me. Now take that to management. A lot of managers are so busy directing activity and they don't know and understand the biggest single factor in that operation, and that is people. So with Citibank, when I took over, I managed two different branches. So I had one branch for about 18 months and I went to another branch. And I've taken over organizations like that in other contexts. But when I walked into the branch, I've learned a couple of things. One, I don't look at personnel files unless they're on a performance improvement plan, right?
Yep.
Because I don't want to shade my coloring of what you are. And I'm going to have a conversation with each person. And back then, I'd have a 3x5 card, right? Right? Because I was faster with the writing than I was with front. But anyway, now I do it with a cell phone. And I would ask questions, listen to you, take notes, find out who this person is, and find out why they are here. There are a lot of jobs out there. Why do you choose every day to walk in here? Why do you vote with your feet to be here? And if you're voting with your feet to be here because you want to perform, you're in the right place because this is what I do. I build good organizations. But if this is not the place, it's okay because you can go somewhere else and I can help you. I'll help you with a resume. And I've done that in organizations, and it's been great because some people would actually leave, and they were supposed to leave. Everybody can't do every job. Someone needs to say to them, it's okay to fly. It's okay. Because I don't want to fire you if something's happening. I don't know because I don't know yet because I haven't went through the personnel file. So I'm starting with square one. You're fine as far as I know. Can I help you be successful here or can I help you be successful somewhere else? And I found that approach is powerful because it respects the individual. And the individual is more important than the organization. But the individual has to understand you have to weave into the organization because you're voting to come here. So if managers can listen better and understand what they're listening, take active notes, record the fact that their daughter's going through some stuff, right? And just check in. Are you okay, right? You don't have to ask, is the daughter okay? But I can just see you and you look a little bit different. Then everything cool? Right? Okay, if it's cool, great. If not, if you ever need to just chat, just let me know. I don't have to go into your personal business, but I want to make sure you know that I know if there's a need, I'm here. If you need to take time, whatever. You shouldn't be ashamed to have a life, and now and then the life requires certain things.
Yeah.
And as a manager, if you make that clear to a person, the person is most important. Yeah, we all work for this company, but it's the person. So the people who can do that better get folks who will march up Pork Chop Hill for them. Right?
For sure.
Right? I'll do it. Like I have, he's passed now. Kevin McNeil. This was the best manager I ever had. Kevin told me some of the things I've just said to you, and I'll say one more thing. He said, the biggest thing you can do, William, to your employees is to show them how to maximize their compensation. Now, that sounds simple, But in order to maximize your compensation, one, I got to know a lot about you so I know what levers to push. Also, I got to understand, make sure you know your benefit program. We got a match going, right, and all of that. But I also have to teach you to do this job exceptionally well. And I have to set you up to have an excellent annual review. And annual reviews don't start in December when you do them.
Right.
They start in January. You set the stage, and every month I'm checking in. Am I doing it? Am I 5? Am I 5? Am I 5? So right, that's Kevin. And so by the time we get to the end of the year, boom, you're 5. It's not a surprise because we've been doing this all year.
Right.
So the better managers are doing all of that. And it sounds like a lot, but it's not. You have an employee checking in with you. Am I kicking it? Yeah, you're kicking it, right?
Yeah.
Right, but we made a little mistake here. This could be a little bit better. And I'm an employee. I'm like, yeah, okay. Thanks, Kevin. Because we still want to kick it a 5.
Right.
So the better managers do that in not all those words, but in some context. They get you to step up and say, we are in, and we're in this together. We're going to make this thing happen. And I want to maximize my bonus, my benefits, my match, all of that stuff while I'm in this operation.
It's interesting.
Bring up a good point with knowing your people, right? So this is something I know Glenn and I dealt with a lot when we were in the military is, we have a rating system just like any large organization, right? And there was always an expectation that was pushed onto those that didn't want it potentially. And so for instance, if you just wanted to be a great engine mechanic, but you didn't want to get your bachelor's degree, but all of a sudden you were considered like not great. And so it's fair, I always tell people like when we do leadership training is accept the people that just want to be great at their job. If they don't want to get the degree that you think is important, that's not important to them. You know what you hired them to do? You hired them to do a great job and make sure that people don't die.
Love it.
Love
it.
So,
Yeah.
and obviously the organization takes time to catch up to that train of thought, right? But I think in today's society, like it's okay to not be doing 10,000 things and be really good at the thing that you want to be really good at.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you bring a really, really good point. Yeah, we definitely have seen that a lot in our experience. I mean, I actually witnessed that a lot, like because, earlier in my career, I wasn't going to school, right? But what I was doing is I was attending leadership courses. And right, so the difference between me and the larger group of folks is they were getting their community college of the Air Force degrees, versus I didn't have the motivation at the time because the logic I had was, okay, I'm taking this class that I can't apply to life right now.
Yeah.
So to me, it didn't make sense. And so I would much rather go to this John Maxwell or Stephen Covey course where I can apply these principles now.
Yeah,
and so it was like, at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing was trying to prep for the long game.
Yeah.
Because, I realized in navigating through that, wow, I put myself at a peak where I end up being a master sergeant in the Air Force. But because I lacked some of the degrees that my other peers had, leadership-wise, I was very much so ahead. So what the Air Force needed as far as leadership, I was there, or really exceeded it. However, who they were selecting were the folks that just had the check marks on the paper.
It was these other things.
And so now, granted, I was 11 years in. I was already prepping for when I retire, and so it was just very interesting because there was still the human aspect of where it was. There were certain seasons where it was very, it was very not demotivating. Anyway, it wasn't as motivating, right? And so it forced me to really focus on the when I retire, what am I going to do next?
Exactly.
And so, but it was just interesting to see that because so many folks get caught up in that cycle of let me just do this, and I have no desire of going that direction when I hang up this uniform.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm grateful, and if I could go back, I still would do it as far as.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with that. And that's what helped me fall in love with leadership. I was attending those courses and I seen the disconnect in what this massive organization was doing and had this broken system. And so now we're helping organizations put systems in place to fix things like that. Right?
So full life balance.
Break
Break it down, Big Daddy.
The 5 keys to the kingdom.
So, So let's take the first key, right? The spiritual key. The spiritual key says some folks say religion, and that's fine. If you live truly as a Christian or as a Buddhist or as a Muslim, all of those are actually peaceful religions.
For sure.
Right? Now, we can pervert it and turn it into all kinds of things, but look at the essence of it. It is be good, do good, help others. Buddhism says all religions are fine long as it goes to the core. Now, it doesn't matter to me, but the spiritual key says recognize that there are things that are possibly bigger than you. It means, if that means just going to the beach and watching the waves go back and forth and realize that's been going on millions of years, that's bigger than you. Right? And just there's the peace that comes from that. So whatever, it could be playing with your dog and the dog looks like it's almost talking to you, right? What happened, right? And whatever it is, my point is we periodically and on a regular basis, and I say at least once a day, somehow need to get out of self.
Yeah.
And spirituality is a huge component of getting out of self. And some folks, for me, it's 5 minutes of peace every day. I try to be absolutely quiet and just breathe without an agenda and let this thing inside of me, because there are two pieces, right? It might be three, right? But there's this physical body, but also I can get in touch with something else. And I begin to think and whatever. And it's relaxing, it's rejuvenating. And if you do it during the course of the day, I do it in the morning and sometimes during the middle of the day. If I'm just swamped and if I have some time, I'll sit in my study, turn everything off, even the phone, and just be quiet for 5 minutes. You reboot, you reset, just like a computer. Right? So every day, do something that removes you from self. Also, in the spiritual key, look for the good. Babies, puppies, jokes, things are fun. Release endorphins, make yourself laugh. Don't watch the 11 o'clock news, right? Because our bodies are programmed to, our subconscious mind will attempt to solve problems. And if you ever doubt that, I remember my grandmother saying, and she couldn't do the homework I was doing, right? And she was like, and they called me Kenny as a kid. My middle name is Ken. I said, Kenny. And she said, Kenny William. But she said, Kenny William, and it's William Kenneth. She said, what's wrong? I said, Grandma, I can't do this. She said, well, step away from it, baby.
Yep.
Right? Which is incredible wisdom. You step away from it. Apparently, your subconscious mind is still working on it.
Yep.
So I went away to do something else. I come back and say, oh.
I got it.
Right? So now tie that to watching the 11 o'clock news at night and some 6-year-old girl has been murdered or raped. And your subconscious mind can't do anything about it, but it's still like, that's not right. Because if you have any logic built in, moral logic, you're probably saying that's not right. You're probably all saying, Gee, that's awful. What can I do? What can we do? And there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do at 11 o'clock at night other than go to bed now. And your subconscious mind may play with that. And that's why a lot of people wake up jaded, cynical, and paranoid, because they're pumping this poison into themselves. And don't get me wrong, I still need to know what's happening. I'm just saying I'm not going to give myself an injection right before I go to sleep. I like smiles. I need jokes. I want to see my wife laughing. That's what I go to bed with. So that's the spiritual key. The physical key, it takes energy to be successful. Diet, water, rest, exercise, right? And if you consume other substances, hopefully in moderation. And I've been down that road, so I know what that is. That doesn't lead to anything. But what does lead to anything is keeping your body in shape. I come from folks who live into their 90s and they're lucid, right? And everything else. There's a real possibility I live into my hundreds, right? And this is the vessel apparently I have, so I'm going to max it out. So physically, I do some push-ups, some sit-ups. I stretch from head to toe every day. I get myself some water. I like bananas and carrots. I eat chips now and then. I eat candy now and then. I'm going to eat that stuff.
Right.
I just don't eat the bag of chips. Right, the big bag. The
family
side.
side.
I eat the fun side. Right. And when I come in here, I always like, right?
I was like, I see.
Right. All right, so physical and release endorphins. Do something like me. I hit the tennis ball somewhere, play the guitar a little bit, something where after you're done with it, like, that feels good. Release them endorphins. Get those drugs in you, dopamine and endorphins. Then emotion, that's the hard key. They're all hard, but they're all doable. Not hard and possible, just doable, because most of us have habits that are contrary. So the emotion piece, I can remember saying things to my wife, and I'm like, yeah, right? And she's looking at me, waiting to be finished, right? And sometimes I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
Right? I was so busy up in Williamese, right? Right? And she's like, and then sometimes I was wrong. A lot of times I've been wrong. Sometimes she said something and it triggered me to respond to something else. And what I've learned to do, to a degree, I haven't mastered any of this. I'm a work in progress, right? So I wrote a book about some stuff I'm trying to do. I didn't write a book about stuff I do all the time and I'm perfect, right? So sometimes I have to ask my wife to reset, right? Can we just reset? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? I just can't, right?
Right.
Whatever triggered me to go that way, I went that way. And will I go that way again? Yeah. Hopefully I just don't do it as much.
For sure.
And hopefully I apologize and realize that was me. Because a lot of times it is me. Sometimes it's her. It seems like most times it's me, though. Right? So anyway, so what do I do there? One of the things I do at the end of the day is I do 5 minutes of peace. So at the end of every day, I try to sit down for 5 minutes and think about my interactions with folks. I had some great conversations in here. And hopefully, because I talk a lot, that I didn't interrupt people, right? And things like that, right? Or hopefully I didn't say something, and I didn't, but what if I said something that, you know what, I should apologize. I should reach out to them and say, you know, I didn't really mean to say that way, right? If you do that, especially in your relationships, people are like, you know what, we're works in progress, as opposed to he said that and he meant that. I didn't mean to say that way.
Right.
I was hungry, or I was tired, or you said something that triggered some weird memory from 20 years ago. And now all of a sudden I'm reacting this way, but you didn't do anything. It was me. And so that kind of acceptance, that's emotional. Then professional, I had to get back on the horse and say, you know what, I'm pretty smart, but I hadn't been using my tools. I had people in my crew becoming judges in things 25 years ago. And I was managing a consumer electronics store. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just talking my skill set.
Right.
I've been blessed with, and there's not, again, I want to make sure there's nothing wrong with that. Managing a Best Buy, any of that stuff, whatever you're doing is what you're doing.
Right.
I'm just saying my skill set was designed for something else. And I had sort of pushed it down and I wasn't dealing with it. So I began to get, that's what the law school was and that's what the MBA was, but also I spend about an hour every day. And I try to turn the phone off and I try to read. And I read three things. One is entertainment and pleasure. One is like motivational, like John Maxwell. And one is just, there's something specific I need to learn more about. Like I'm on this thing with the avatars now. Can I make an avatar? Can I do it myself? Where at the end of my videos, the avatar saying, William said this. And the avatar looks like, right? And so, but there's tons of data out here. Right. So I'm looking at this stuff and trying to figure, now, of course, there are kids out here who can do it. And I won't say kids, but I'm saying, why not learn some of it?
Right.
So when somebody brings it to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what he's talking about. Doesn't hurt me to learn this stuff. And then the charitable key, I'm a Rotarian. I give back, and not just with Rotary. I mean, I can be walking down the street. My latest, and not walking down, I'm buying a jicama, West Texas. I'm in the store in the Mexican market, and there's a lady in front of me, and I've shared this story because I look for it now. This lady was squeezing dollars. You ever been when your money is tight and you can tell, right, the way, and I call it squeezing dollars. She needs $12. She's coming up on like 11, and now she's going to have to go to the change. And she just got basic stuff. I've done it before. Anyway, so I covered, and she's like, oh, you know, I said, no, I got it. And then I almost run away because I don't want you to do it over, right? So, and I got it, and I just did it in dollar store. And I did it because this woman was buying kid stuff. Right? So she's buying a little kid. It's like a Hello Kitty thing with the little pink thing, right? She's buying stuff for kids and her money's tight. So I get in and I swipe, right? And stuff like that, right? And then people want to think, and I appreciate the thanks, but what I'm doing, I'm releasing good endorphins. I feel as good or better than she does. Right. I have $7. I have $9. And what I told her and what I tell everybody when I do this, and I think we all should do that, find an example. If you can afford to do something like that, it's nothing. If you have the money, if you don't have the money, I get it. Right. Then it's time, it's energy or whatever. But if you have I have a few pennies and I can do that. And I just tell people, just do something for somebody else. That's what I ask. You don't have to thank me. Thank me by doing something for somebody else. And I think my mother used to say, if we all did 2 hours a month, we could solve all the world's problems. With all of us who have the ability to do something, we could solve all the world's problems. There's 8 billion of us. Probably 5 billion of us could do something, right? So anyway, so all of those things combined, that's full life balance. It's little rituals and habits I try to do every day.
Love it. I love it. Full life balance, the 5 keys to the kingdom. And so you have a newer book as well. What's that called? And can you give us just a brief
Sure.
overview on that?
It's called Open in Case of Emergency, the 4 Factors of Happiness.
Right there.
And I don't know, 2016, 17 or so, I'm doing presentations, and I was in Yolo County. There's some
YOLO.
Hey, yo, yo.
So I'm in Yolo County, and I was asked how did this happen? I was asked to do a presentation, it's Rotary. I asked to do a presentation on just feeling good and stuff. And I started thinking, you know what, YOLO, you only live once. And then I started thinking, why not be happy? And I started thinking about that stuff. So I just sort of drafted a presentation and did a thing on happiness. What makes me happy? I'm a happy person. Mm-hmm. I've had moments and days where I wasn't happy. I've lost parents, and I lost my younger brother, and there have been periods of time, but these are isolated periods of time. Like the stock market, long term it goes up, periodically it goes down. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way it is with my emotion, and it should be with most emotions. Most of this stuff feels okay, and I make a point to make it feel okay. But I go through the pits that we normally go through. So what I realized was there are about 4 or 5 things that I tend to do, and happy people, and you guys do it big time, right? Mm-hmm. Happy people tend to do that. One, we laugh. Right? And it's hard to laugh when you're angry. Mm. So if somebody cut me off, and it's not my lane, it's all of our lanes. I don't own any of the freeway out there, right? So if someone cuts me off in my lane, and I have 3 ways to respond. One, I can do nothing and say, well, I hope that guy's safe. But it will fire up your adrenaline, and then you have to release that. Or 2, I curse at the guy, or 3, I chase him down. Right. And those 2 options I'm not going to do. Mm-hmm. So I just let it go. I'm safe. He's safe. Wasn't my lane. He did cut over a little tight. I had to brake. But now, if I come in here and I'm still like that, and you tell me a joke and I can't laugh because I'm in the other space. So I wasted this opportunity to release these endorphins and feel good. So 1, laugh and find jokes, right? Tell a joke, and if it's phony, people are going to laugh, right? And listen. I listen to comedy and all that stuff, right? So laugh. And then the second piece is care. Have something we talked about this, but have something you take a bullet for. I do. I have kids. I have grandkids. I have a wife. I have a good life with good people around me, and I care. Like the whole Greenpeace thing when they were trying to protect the whales from the Japanese whaling ships and all of that. Those folks were all in, and because you're all in and you get up every day and there's something. I get up every day. You guys get up every day with reasons. You got kids. You got this. You got that. That makes it easier to get up. Having something you really, really care for. And then relationships. You got to have relationships. So the third key is listening. Listening in a healthy way, listening where you get what people are saying, listening and remember. So do active listening because that leads to better communication, which leads to relationships. And then the last thing, and I don't know if this is the most important, but especially in America, it's compare. We unfortunately continue to compare ourselves to other people. Mm. And that's the recipe for failure. If I compare myself to Steph Curry, I'm going to feel less than. But if I practice, and I can maybe make 10 out of 100 if I shot right now. Right. If I practice, could I get to 13 or 14? Right. Probably, because I'm doing it every day, every week, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe I get to 15. That's 15%. And then I can look back and say I was 10%. And I'm like, yes. Right. But if I look at Steph, he's 48% for life or something crazy like that, then I feel less than. Mm-hmm. And that's a microcosm of these 13-year-old girls who are looking at these images on Facebook and all that and thinking they're supposed to look like that. Or these folks who say they're jealous when they see people going down the street driving this vehicle or that vehicle, and kids do not understand sarcasm. Mm-hmm. So when you say you're jealous in your household, that kid thinks the word jealous means that's what you are. Mm-hmm. And most of the things they do are based upon what they learned. We provide their software, right? So happiness is not being maniacal and always at a 10 laughing all the time, right? It's knowing that you're going to go through these ebbs and flows, but overall you're happy. If happiness is 1 to 10, it's probably most of the time 7 to 9. And it's not down here at 4 or 5. That might be clinical depression if you're always bummed out. And that's way beyond what I'm talking about in the book. I'm just saying, most of us, I got a little food at home, got a penny or 2 in the bank. I got people who love and care about me. I got up today in my right mind. Looks like I'm making sense, right? I've got all this good stuff going, so I can be happy. But if I'm starving and my stomach's bloated, I'm not telling jokes. I'm trying to get food. So people who, when you're up against that, either mentally or physically, that's a different story. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about most of us who actually got a few pennies and we're living the life, and somehow we're getting bummed because it's Monday. Right. Yeah, it's Monday. And if you're lucky, tomorrow's Tuesday, right? So that thing.
Okay. So I have one more question. Do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. So
William and I are quite acquainted.
He's seen all
And
this.
this won't be his first time, I'm sure.
so you have had the opportunities to go around the globe and speak. And so imagine yourself on the stage right now, and you're talking to your audience, and you're wrapping up. And 3 words come to your mind: life, love, and leadership. As you have 60 seconds on the clock in front of, whether it's just one person or thousands of people, if you could say something to that audience, incorporate those 3 words, what would that be?
I don't know if I can incorporate those 3 words, but I would say something to that audience, and maybe it blends into it. The thing I would say is one comedian, and I thought this was hilarious, but so true. He said what he wants on his tombstone is, was that it? Right? Like he lived this life, and was that it? What I want on my tombstone is, I did it. Right? I went through this thing. I had people who loved me, and more importantly, I had people I loved. And I got up and I took advantage of this vessel I had. I tried to take care of it and stretch it as long as I could stretch it. And I paid attention. I paid attention to what was around me. I watched things happen, and I've lived this life. So at the end of it, I wanted to say, I did it.
I did it.
I'm going to say that he said love.
Yeah. That's what I got out of it.
That's what I got.
That's what I'm walking away with.
That's what I'm walking away with.
Yeah. And I would actually say, I think the framework of the conversation stemmed around love. I watched your body language when you talked about your kids and your grandkids and like the mannerisms and, the smiles, the joys, and then how you actually said what you said and what you said. And I think that's something that's missing in our community, is that piece right there, is love. And so on behalf of our team, I just want to say thank you for you expressing your love in this community and around the globe, because you are an inspiration to many folks that are watching you that you may not even know that are watching you. And so as folks are aspiring to be their next best version of themselves, we appreciate you leading the charge.
Absolutely. And aim high. Don't stop here.
Absolutely. So do you have any last words? How can folks connect with you? And then are there any projects that you're working on right now that you would like to share?
Yeah, I'm working on a series of videos about leadership and management in particular. Management is 4 key things. It's leadership, it's organizing, it's control, and it is basically bringing all that stuff together in this whole mix that includes motivation. Right? So what are the key bullets a person should cover? So I'm doing some videos starting next week that is talking about how do you plan, organize, lead, and control. But with motivation and communication woven into it, because it's not just pumping widgets. So that's the next thing.
Love it.
Where will that be at?
It will be on YouTubers. And it'll be on Facebook and LinkedIn. I think I'm about to go to Blue Sky and see what that is. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't checked out Blue Sky yet.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I saw a car with it the other day, like an advertising car.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, look, there it is. It is something. Because you were the first person that ever told me about it.
Really?
Yeah. And then someone else said something, and I was like, have you been on it? They're like, I haven't been on it either. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And so what I decided to do, I'm going to actually take all 40 videos and go one a day on that platform, since I haven't touched that. Oh, it's 50 videos as of yesterday.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, William, we are very grateful for your presence, for your leadership. We are happy to have you on the Elder Perspective.
Or your friendship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, most importantly.
Yeah.
For sure.
And thank you for I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you for allowing me to come into space, not just this moment, but all the things Cam and I have done, because that really jump-started what I wanted to do. And it gave me the practice vehicle. And probably for podcasts, this is where I'll be. But that other stuff, right? But I didn't know I could do some of the stuff I was doing. So I learned a lot
There you go.
Yeah, tons. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
That's good. And what is it again? If you're not moving forward as a learner, you're moving backwards as a leader. Ladies and gentlemen, William Wesley.
Yeah, we'll see y'all later.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
I feel like you can trust anybody.